You're listening to the NVus Alien Podcast with your host, Heather Woodward, an award-winning psychic, supernatural author, and lover of all things true crime. On this show, we're going to deep dive into topics that don't usually see the light of day. The spooky, the weird, the macabre, the paranormal, and of course, aliens. Sit back, grab a cup of tea, and let's get on with the show.
I'm just sitting here doom-scrolling and listening to the NVus Alien Podcast, living my best paranormal-obsessed life, when I remembered Heather does tarot readings. So naturally, I had to hit her up because I was obsessing over whether this guy was going to ghost me for the third time this month, and also pretty convinced my boss is a cryptid. She pulled the cards, spilled the interdimensional tea, and gave me exactly the tough love I needed. 13 out of 10. Would let her roast my future again. Book your phone chat or text reading at www.heatherashera.com. That's HeatherAshera.com, or text her at 252-241-9447. Trust me, your delusions will thank you later.
Welcome to the NVus Alien Podcast. I was at the Ozark Mountain UFO Conference. The first episode in this series is about Eureka Springs and the conference as a whole and some of the things that happened. We were talking about SRV, which is a form of remote viewing that's different from CRV. Sometimes when you're in alignment, synchronicities start to happen and it's really weird. I was talking about Ben Hansen, about my experience, the Hopkinsville Goblins. If you're interested in the Hopkinsville Goblin, there's a really great book. There's actually a couple books that you should read. One of them is by George Dudding. It's a very small book. It's $10. It's on Amazon. I will put the link in the show notes. But his book is very concise. It's just got a ton of information. It's called The Kelly-Hopkinsville UFO and Alien Shootout. And one of the Sutton girls wrote a book, and that one is very good as well. If you want to know the backstory of the Suttons and what happened, this is a really good book, and if you go on her website, she will sign it. Geraldine Sutton is her name, and the book is called The Kelly Green Men. I was actually going to the meet and greet for the con. You go into this bar area at the convention center, and everybody's there. All of the speakers. You can talk to them and schmooze with them and buy drinks, and it's fun. It's very intimate. It's people who can deal with staying up. I put on my extroversion cap because I really hate these kinds of social situations, and I always feel really stupid. I went by myself. My mom went to the convention. She was actually a vendor at the convention, but she didn't want to go because she was tired, and she had done a bunch of readings, and she'd been up since 6:30. I'm sure the meet and greet on Saturday was much more popular, and there's no way I would have gone to that one. But the Friday one seemed a little more quiet. I did see Ben Hansen, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something really crazy that I wouldn't normally do. You guys are probably going to think this is funny because you're like, that seems like the normal thing to do. But in my mind, it's not, because I don't like bugging people, especially. I wouldn't really call him a celebrity, but he does have a TV show. And I really hate being that person. I'm just not that person because that shit is so scripted, and it's just, I don't know. I'm not enthralled. I've been in this scene for way too fucking long, and I don't really care. When I went to Alien Con and I was in the room with all of the speakers and I'm sitting there, I was just quiet the whole time. I barely talked to anybody. I was just sitting and listening and doing Twitter posts and Facebook posts and just getting my thoughts together because I just really don't want to bug people. I did have some conversations here and there because they had food in the food line. You start talking to people because it's fun. But for the most part, I was just really quiet. And I did have some cool experiences, and I did, again, talk to people, and I learned some things. But as a whole, I'm not that talkative in that I don't go out of my way to talk to people. I'm that person where if I'm in the line at the grocery store, people start talking to me and telling me their life stories, and I'm like, that's great. Anyways, I'm like, today is going to be that day where I be that person. I am going to be the annoying person because I just talked about Ben Hansen in the car for my podcast, and I need to know some things. So I went up to him and I started talking to him, and I explained to him the situation about what happened in Kelly, and where I am staring at his episode, and then one of the Sutton girls comes up and talks to me, and I'm telling him the story, and he's, what? And he was just like, really? Oh my gosh, that's so funny. And then he tells me, like, yeah, one of the girls lives, she's a woman, but I'm going to say girl. One of the girls lives very close to the property. I said, yes, I know. And yeah, the house foundation is down the street, but they wouldn't let us film it because the people that live there now don't want to have anything to do with it. I'm like, yeah, I know. We took pictures and we drove by and we saw the original foundation of the house, but she told us not to go too far and just to stop and take the picture and then drive by, don't get out and look at it. They're like, yeah, they're very weird about the property. I'm like, yeah, I know about that. I was asking him about going, because we were not able to go far back into where the actual UFO crash thing, whatever it was, landed. We didn't get to go that far back because there wasn't a clear path and it's dangerous, and she didn't want us to go back there without protection or something because she just didn't want us to get hurt. I totally get it, but we got to go halfway point because there is a path that can go pretty far back, but then the woods get really deep. But anyway, she took us to some other places. I told Ben there was a cave system behind the property where they think the goblins may have entered or left from. It's something that they just assume because there's these openings. If there were goblin-like creatures, they would be able to go through these cave systems. She showed us an opening to one that was right by the house. I actually picked up a rock. I asked her first, and I picked up a rock, and then I brought it home, and it's sitting in my living room. Anyway, he told a story. The most memorable part of that whole trip, he said, was that when he got back to the hotel, he had a whole bunch of ticks on him, and he had 7 ticks on him. Freaked him out. He spent the better part of the evening having them removed with the tweezers. He said it was not a very pleasant experience. There were other people around me. Other people got into the circle and was listening to me talk about this story. I don't think a lot of people know about the Hopkinsville Goblins. One of the other things that Ben Hansen said that was really interesting, and it's something that actually moves into another synchronicity that happened with us. It was me and 2 of my friends. Stephanie was there. Stephanie, who co-hosts this podcast sometimes. She was with me on that trip, and there was a lot of us together. And I was arguing with my son about drone footage, like most of the trip. But anyway, that has nothing to do with what I was going to say. When the Sutton girl invited us to her house to visit and to look at her costumes, that she makes alien costumes, and they're really freaking cool. The family makes these little figurines. I'll put the link in the show notes, and I actually bought one because they're so freaking cool. It comes with a certificate of authenticity because it's exactly how the goblins looked with the color and everything, and they're freaking amazing. Anyway, she was showing us her collection of these little goblins that she has in her house, and she was showing us the alien costumes that she makes, and she's a really interesting person. Anyway, but when we were going up to her house, we saw all these deer prints in front of her house, and she lives behind the woods. Sometimes I have deer prints in my backyard too. However, it's just, if you're not intuitive, maybe you're not going to get this, but I have a feeling most of the people who listen to this podcast are somewhat intuitive, if not psychic or psycho. We had been seeing deers a lot, and deer prints and deer things. And I was like, that's very interesting. Why would the deer be going right up to the stairs of the house in this mud? Because it had just rained, I think the night before or something, because it was still wet. The prints were really obvious too. It was a small deer. And I remember us saying that this must have been a baby or a smaller deer or a youngling. It was one of those things that I took note of and we talked about. This was 2 years ago, by the way. So back 2 years now in the Ozark Mountains, talking to Ben Hansen. This is total full circle moment, by the way. He tells me that another significant thing that happened was when he was going out in the forest and trying to get B-roll, and probably where he got the ticks. It's 11:11, by the way. When he got the ticks, he heard a really strange noise in the woods, and it was very big and very ominous. And he was like, is it a bear? Is it Bigfoot? he was trying to figure out what it is, and he talked to some people about it, and that area is known for Bigfoot. So he wasn't sure, but it scared him, and so he moved away from that area. And then when he did that, he almost stepped on a baby deer. Ben Hansen is very tall, by the way. He's 6'3" or something like that. He's very tall. I'm 5'1". No, 5'2". I'm 5'2". He stands a good 1.5 feet over me. I'm looking up at him, and he's telling me about this baby deer, and he's very big and not fat, just big because he's tall. And he said that he didn't see it in the woods because it was hiding and it was crouching. It scared him because he didn't want to step on this baby deer that was just sitting there and hiding from him because he was scary and in the woods. I was like, that's so interesting, because while we were at the Sutton girl's house, we saw these deer tracks. And he didn't clock it. And I'm like, you weren't there. You don't understand. This is a full circle moment. This is the universe. Here you go. You're completing the circle now. Deer marks were giving you a future event. Here you go. Blink. I was like, okay, this was meant to happen. I was meant to be here in this moment, in this time. I don't know why I needed to talk to him about this. I don't know why we needed to have this conversation, but it was supposed to happen. Ben Hansen, he's actually a very nice guy. He talked to everybody. He was very generous with his time. He is not intuitive at all. He is psychic as a box of rocks. Probably a box of rocks is more psychic. Nothing against him. He's a super chill, super cool guy. He is a little bit guarded, but yeah, I would be guarded too if I was at a meet and greet and I'm sitting there talking to people, asking me questions about things that probably everybody asks him questions about all the freaking time. I don't know how many of these things he does, but I know he does the convention circuit. So I'm sure he's tired too. He flew in. He was doing the best he could. And I could tell just from his energy that he's a very nice person, but he is very logical. He's very much in his mind, because I was asking him about intuitive questions about the area, and he just did not know how to answer, because he was like, I don't know. I felt like every other place I've been to. And I'm like, what does that feel like? He didn't really have an answer for me. I'm like, okay, so you're an intellectual person. You are not a feeling-based person. I get it. I don't know how to ask these questions that will give me the answers that I need. But now I understand how you navigate the world, and I guess that's okay. I said thank you, and I went off and did my own thing, and then I left. I was like, okay, this has been the weirdest fucking day ever. I gotta go home now. The Hopkinsville, Kentucky goblin incident is a very interesting one. It all happened in Kelly, Kentucky. From what I remember, what people were telling me who live in the area, there's train tracks, and then Kelly's on one side and Hopkinsville is on the other. The police station was in Hopkinsville, which is the bigger city. The family that this happened to, they went to the police department in Hopkinsville. That's why it's called the Hopkinsville Goblin incident, even though it happened in Kelly. Anyway, this all happened on the Sutton's farm. There were 11 people in the house at the time, 8 adults and 3 children. The house was an unpainted 3-bedroom without running water. It had no telephone, no radio. It was just a regular farmhouse. The farmhouse isn't there anymore. If you go to Kelly, the square where the house used to be is there, like the foundation, and you can see it. It's very obvious where the house was. There is another house that was built on the property farther back. Those people know what was there, and they don't like people going on the property at all. They're very sensitive about it, and I'm like, if you're sensitive about it, don't live there. That's just my 2 cents. There used to be a Hopkinsville Goblin festival every year at the park right next to where the incident happened, but they haven't done it since COVID. According to the police officer, Chief Russell Greenwell, the Suttons weren't the kind of people that went to the police for anything. They had their house on the property. They wanted to be left alone. According to the police report, the incident happened at 7 p.m. on a Sunday evening. Billy Ray Taylor, who was one of the friends of the Suttons, he was one of the adults there, was getting water from the backyard, and he saw a silvery object, and it was flying through the sky, and I guess it had a rainbow exhaust. I know that sounds so weird to me, but like some kind of colorful, iridescent rainbow exhaust. He said that it passed over the house and then it dropped to the ground. There was a ton of forest back behind where their house was. I basically went over the house and went straight into the forest. Taylor was there with his wife to visit Lucky Sutton, and Lucky Sutton is the direct relative of the two Sutton girls. The reason why Billy Ray Taylor and his wife were visiting the Suttons is because they all worked on a traveling carnival together. So yes, these are carnies, which is a little suspicious, I'm not gonna lie. When I read that in the few books that I have about this whole situation, I'm like, was this just a carefully contrived story to get some interest? I'm not even sure. You can look up the police report. I'll put a link in the pictures that they drew. There's a very famous picture. It's described by Elmer Sutton, J.C. Sutton, O.P. Baker, drawn by Andrew Budd Ledwith. I'll get back to that in just a minute. But they had a lot of detail. Either they contrived a very cool story because they're carnies, or something really happened to them and you kind of have to overlook it. I'm not sure which to do at this point. I'm a little sus. And also, we're talking about a really bright silvery object with an exhaust, the colors of the rainbow. That is a quote, by the way, from the report. That was not a hyperbole at all. Anyway, so this thing stopped and dropped in the forest. The other persons in the house were Lucky Sutton, Glennie Langford, who was a 50-year-old widow. She had two older sons and their wives, and then a brother-in-law was there, and they had 3 children, which were 10, 12, and 7. When Billy Ray Taylor came into the house while he was getting water and said, "Hey, I just saw something outside, and it had this iridescent rainbow exhaust, and it just fell into the forest," everyone was like, "You're on crack." They just kind of blew it off. Everybody went back to their own thing, and they thought it was going to be just a normal night. But then an hour later, the dog just kept barking and barking, and so Lucky and Billy Ray went to the back door. And there they saw this strange glow. Behind the glow, or within the glow, they saw this humanoid. And this is where we get back to that picture, the figure 10, little man. The height was 2.5 to 3.5 feet tall. There was no sexual parts. They had a nice flat Barbie kind of area. The head was almost round, bald, and the same color as the body. No nose. And in the picture, it says, one man stated very strongly that there was none. No nose at all, and no neck. Just a big head. Ears were shut back, extended quite a bit above the crown of the head. So we have these flappy ears. Eyes were yellow, center, white rim, about 6 inches apart and glowing. That's interesting to me. Like, why would their eyes be glowing? The mouth was a thin line, but not sure that there was a mouth. There was an area. I guess they didn't open their mouth, so it just looked like a thin line. Body was powerful above the waist, muscles clearly seen. So big arms, shoulders. Below waist, thin and spindly, almost no shape to legs, dick-like. Hands, oversized, talons 2 or 3 inches long, webbing between the fingers, starting at about a knuckle above the talons. Knuckles and fingers were not counted. Feet not seen. So we don't know what their feet look like. And I will go ahead and put this picture in the show notes. You can get the show notes at NVusalien.com. I always have links to where I get the information, books, all that stuff. It's always there. So if you want to do some future reading on this or any of my other podcasts, I always have a ton of resources. I'm a research freak. Anyway, so they see this thing outside of their back door. And according to the report, this body gave off some kind of glowy shimmer. And it looked like a silvery metal. I don't know, man. This is just sounding really freaky and really weird. We got some kind of rainbow iridescent UFO, and then their eyes glowed, and they gave off some kind of eerie, glowy, shimmery kind of thing that made them look like silver metal. Silver metal is in air quotes because that's exactly how they described it. Also, I don't know if this is important, but it was a new moon. There wasn't a cast or an overglow from the moon, because I know sometimes around here, especially I live in Arkansas and I'm in North Carolina right now, and there is a ton of forest. And when the moon is full or when the moon is out, it does cast a silver kind of glow over things. But apparently because of the new moon, there wasn't anything like that. Anyway, these two men, Billy Ray and Lucky, grabbed a 20 gauge shotgun and a 22 rifle, and they fired at this weird looking glowing thing. It raised its hands up into the air, and then it did a flip, scrambled upright, and then ran off into the darkness. Again, this story just gets weirder and weirder. They thought that it was over, and then a similar looking creature, there's more than one of these little mofos, it goes and appears in a side window of the house, and they start shooting at it. This little guy flipped, and then he ran into the forest and disappeared. Then another one approached the front door, and it was trying to get in. What's going on here is everybody, the kids, the widow, they're all kind of crouching in the hallway because they're like, what the hell are these things? What's going on? They felt like they were being enclosed by these things, or these little things were like coming one at a time to see if they could get into the house. Billy Ray, he tries to go outside with his gun because there's this overhanging roof. He tries to go outside near the overhanging roof to see if he can figure out how many of them are and what's going on. And I guess one of the hands of one of these creatures reached down over the overhang and grabbed his hair. The other dude with the gun, Lucky, starts to shoot over the overhang. And the little goblin dude joins one of his little goblin friends, and they float to the ground and then run into the woods. I think we have 4 or 5. There's one in the back door, one on the side window, one on the front door, one on the overhang, and then he has a friend. So there's 5 of these little creatures. After that situation, the whole group of people, they scurry inside, and they just basically stay in the living room and wait. They sit there in their house with their guns, and they kept hearing movements and scratches on their roof. They wait until they stop hearing these movements and these scratches, and they run to their car and go to the police station, and then they tell this crazy story. Now, the police go to the farm, and also military police show up too. There they find shell casings from the gunshots, and nothing else. Of course, the police are like, are you sure you guys weren't drinking? This is a funny story. They couldn't find any evidence of any kind of drink, any kind of alcohol. The widow said that she did not allow alcohol on the premises. That's not something they did. They see the bullet holes, and they're like, yeah, we don't really know what's going on. So they leave. And then once the police leave and the military police from Fort Campbell leave, the little monsters, the little goblins, they return around 2:30 in the morning, and they come and go between 2:30 in the morning and 6 a.m. The widow, Mrs. Langford, she said that at one point she saw one of the little dudes glowing by her window, and it kept a claw-like hand on the window screen and kind of just watched her, which sounds really freaking scary. But then once daybreak happened, the little goblins, they left them alone and went back into the forest to never be seen again. I don't know. What do the goblins want? Why would they just freak on this one house? Is it because they were shot at and they were curious? Oh, yeah, you think you're going to shoot at me? We're going to mess with you now because we're goblins and we don't have anything better to do? I don't know. Afterward, people start talking, of course, calling the Suttons crazy. They're ignorant. They're dumb. Oh, yeah, it's the guys with no water, no electricity. Sure, bro. People are going around their property and they're looking for evidence of these little silver goblins. The family puts up no trespassing signs, and that's not really stopping anybody. The family did what carny people do. They're like, let's just charge them admission. They're charging 50 cents for going on the grounds, $1 for their story, and then if you want to take a picture of any of the bullet holes or any of the properties, it was $10. There wasn't a lot of evidence, though, except for the bullet holes, and there was nothing in the forest. People thought that it was just a big story, that these were carnies telling a big tall tale, and so they were just ostracized because of it, and they became the town freaks. There is a copy of the report from the widow, Mrs. Glennie Langford. She wrote it down, but then somebody typed it up, and there are pictures of it. I'm going to read that to you. It says, handwritten copy. My name is, and that's redacted. Her name is Glennie Langford. Anyways, my name is Glennie Langford, age 50, and I live at, and then the address is redacted, Hopkinsville, Route 6, Kentucky. On Sunday night, August 24th, 55, about 10:30 p.m., I was walking through the hallway, which is located in the middle of my house, and I looked out south the back door and saw a bright silver object about 2.5 feet tall appearing around. I became excited and did not look at it long enough to see if it had any eyes or move. I was about 15 or 20 feet from it. I fell backwards and then was carted into the bedroom. My 2 sons, names are redacted, age 25, and his wife, age 29, age 21, and his wife, age 27. These are redacted, just so you know, the names are. And their friends, redacted name, age 21, and his wife, redacted, 18, were all in the house and saw this little man that looked like a monkey. About 3:30 a.m., I was in my bedroom and looked out the north window and saw a small silver shining object about 2.5 feet tall that had its hands on the screen looking in. I called for my sons and they shot at it and left. I was about 60 feet from it this time. I did not see any more. I have read the above statement and it is true to the best of my knowledge and belief. Witness S. John E. Albert, certified true copy. And there's a signature by Charles N. Kirk. And again, I will send you links to all of these things and put them in the show notes so that you can see the picture of what I read. And if you want any other information, It's actually in the Project Blue Book. According to the police officer who interviewed them and then the radio station people who interviewed them, they were very frightened. And for them to go to the police station was a huge deal. That's something that they would never do. They basically kept to themselves. So the very fact that they went into the police station with everybody, not just one person, but the whole family, all 11 people came into the police station, they took that as credibility. But who knows? There have been some other investigations over the years. One of the biggest one was by UFOologist Isabel Davis in 1956 for the Center for UFO Studies. She wrote about a 200-page report that included maps, drawings, documentary records, and all the accounts with interviews with all of the Sutton family members and the police investigators that were there. And she was concerned about the lack of evidence. There's no physical evidence for this. None, except for the bullet holes. You know what I mean? And the stories. She also mentioned that these stories, it could have been anything, but the stories were elaborated because of alcohol, even though the widow said that there was no alcohol on the premises. And she did meet Mrs. Langford, and she was just a normal woman who lived in a farmhouse, who was doing her thing. She had no reason to lie, or she had no reason to make up these stories, and nobody in the house had a background of lying or making up preposterous details. The other thing too is there are no other UFO encounters that I've ever read where there's a rainbow trail or a rainbow emission. So some of the other explanations people have talked about throughout the years or surmised about is owls. They think that there might have been owls because of the talons and the yellow eyes and the ears. Because if you've ever seen an owl in the middle of the night, they have these super glowing eyes, and they do look very glowy, and they do have the long talons. And I could see up that there was an overhang and there was an owl there, which they love to pull hair to. Reminds me of the staircase. Some people have surmised that maybe these little silver creatures were just curious and not aggressive, because they didn't actually go into the house. They didn't actually open any doors. They didn't rip any screens. The one just put his hand on the screen and was like, "Hey, I'm here." So maybe it wasn't aggressive behavior. Maybe it was just normal behavior, a curiosity behavior. But then again, why wouldn't anybody else have seen these little green, they're little silver men. See, I want to call them little green men. And everybody wants to call them little green men, and they weren't. They were silver. So it's so interesting that even I want to call them little green men. They were silver. The reason why they're called little green men is because during their interviews, the Sutton said little gray men, and people thought they were green. According to the police reports, there was a neighbor about a quarter mile away, and they did see lights in the wood behind the Sutton farm. People did hear the gunshots around the area, but they figured something was going on and that there was an animal or something near the Sutton property and they were trying to kill it. Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who did the Project Blue Book, and he worked for the U.S. Air Force, he looked into the Hopkinsville case and he called it preposterous and offensive to common sense. He didn't believe any of it. Some people say that the little gray men were monkeys. I don't know where there would be monkeys back there. There's no monkeys indigenous to the area. But a lot of people say maybe they were monkeys that they had brought back from the carnival or something, and they were hiding them, and then the monkeys had gotten away. That could be plausible. Who knows? Some people were all laughing about moonshine, that they made too much moonshine, and then that was the issue, and they all made it up because they were all drinking too much moonshine, and that was what was basically back in the forest, and that's what the lights were about. But other than that, there aren't really any good examples. I don't know. This is one of those stories that will go down in history. I did talk to one of the Sutton girls, and here is her interview in her own words. I don't know. It's a very interesting story. Still lives on to this day. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's true, but here's her interview, and you tell me what you think about it.
Yeah, so everybody asks questions. So you're Glenda. So tell us about who you are and what you're up to. And how did you know that we were out here thinking about this?
Sit in my window. My dad was him and his brother owned 28 acres. This was farmland when this all happened. He was actually traveling to Carnival. He had come in to see his brother for the week because they were in that area. And they were sitting around that night playing cards at the table when it happened because they were getting to get up and go back to the car the next day. But it was the type of guy who was not scared when this happened and he could kill it.
So did they actually shoot them?
They actually shot it. And they would bounce down to the ground and bounce back up at him. He described it as like shooting a tin can.
So there was a farmhouse over there?
Yeah. The farmhouse, the third house over, in their front yard, you could actually see, but don't go over there.
You don't want to trespass.
Yeah, they get harassed so much.
I would be.
But you could drive by. You could actually see the imprint of the old farmhouse in front of their yard. And the old well still sitting there with the bird bath. My dad wished to God he never said a word to anybody because everybody thought it was just a hoax. But my dad, if you sat down and actually talked to him, you could see fear in that man's face. And that's something we never saw. We never knew anything about it until somebody knocked on our door. And we thought, what? Little green man? Yeah, we were all ears. We were listening. He described to the reporters after they finally got him to sit down and talk. Telling them they're not great. They was blue as silver, and he's about 3 to 4 foot tall. And he kept telling them they did not walk; they hovered.
And they were blue.
They were bluish gray, silver.
Blue silver. Okay.
About the color of that ship right there.
And how come people think it's green?
When they decided to put on this little festival, the guy that wanted to start the festival said Kelly, because Kelly's an Irish town.
Oh.
So Kelly and Green went together.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's how they came up with Kelly Little Green Man. My dad was very terrified. So we knew something happened to that man. And my grandmother, she was a Christian Roman. You didn't drink or anything in front of her because she would knock your head off. And when she tells you something happened.
So is she there too?
Yeah, she was there. She actually saw one looking at her through her bedroom window.
I was going to ask, if
Yeah.
it was August, did they have the windows open?
Some of the windows were and some were.
I'd be so afraid. I'd be so afraid they didn't want to come in those windows.
It's just like everybody said, these were poor farmers. Why would they shoot their own house?
I know there was like one theory that it was some kind of group hallucination, but I just don't see how that. I don't know. They'll say it was a group hallucination, but they don't give any way for that to have happened. Nobody else in the town had tainted drinking water, or it never made sense.
Since the story had came out, several people came forward, seeing lights and stuff in the sky earlier that day.
Oh, really?
We found out that one of my dad's old friends, him and one of his friends were out field working today on a track. And he had seen it earlier that day too. And he heard the shot coming from my dad's. But to this day, if he had thought about it, he said he would have went up there to help him.
Was there any reason why your dad would be targeted?
We don't know that.
There's no rhyme or reason for it. Did he ever see any UFOs before that or anything?
No.
Or have any dreams or no history? Nothing.
No. We don't know why they picked this certain.
Is there anything in the woods that you know of? Any history?
We've been back there many a time. When they did go make it to Hot Town to report it, and they came out and looked, whatever the cops had seen, the sheriff told them to call Fort Campbell made a trip out here, and they had 2 great big old trucks, and they blocked it off and wouldn't let nobody out here for 2 days.
Oh, wow.
So whatever they had in those 2 trucks, they took out. So nobody knows what they found and what they took out. And of course, back then, they didn't have all the ceramics and stuff that they could do today. So we don't know what they took out. It's actually still back there.
There's probably a burnt spot or something, right?
It's still around, a little burnt spot on it.
So something was there.
Or something there.
What about the EMF? Is it really high in that area?
Right now, it's not. You got stuff like that's 60-something years.
Yeah. It might be in the soil, though.
Back then, I'm sure it was.
Did anything ever happen to you or the rest of the family? Never? You guys never had any other experience?
And everybody keeps asking, are they going to come back? And if they do come back, come back. That's a question within itself.
And why would they come back? Yeah.
What would be the point? My understanding of the story is that it was an accidental crash. So why would they come back?
And like my grandmother said, after all it was said and done, maybe they crashed and needed help. But she didn't think about it at the time because she was scared to death.
Yeah. I'd be afraid too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I just now finding out about it and everything. There's a lot of people that don't know about it yet. Yeah, y'all have to come see it.
Yeah. Right back up. We'll go.
And then when they started up,
is your sister the one who wrote the book?
My sister's the one who wrote it.
I
She's
forgot.
the one that tells the story on stage.
Wait, what's her name? I forgot.
Charlene Steele.
That's her. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I was wondering, so were you on the Discovery Channel thing that just aired?
We are.
It was you, right?
Yes, it was me and her.
Okay, I thought I recognized you. I just watched the Discovery. We were coming to visit her, and so I just happened to be watching UFO Witness, and I was like, this is so random and weird. This is on right now as I'm going there.
Yeah.
And I thought I recognized you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's us.
Okay. What did you think of that? How was it?
I didn't get to see it yet.
Oh, you haven't?
We had a fun 3-day filming that, so we had a good time. And they're actually supposed to be starting filming an actual movie this year to that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who's doing it? Do you know?
Cody Knotts. He's from Pennsylvania.
He's filming a documentary on it?
No, he's actually going to refilm the whole movie.
Oh, the old movie?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're going to be out here filming it. They're going to do the whole setup, everything. They're going to actually build a model of the old house, and they're going to set it up out here and everything.
Oh, wow. Is that why you're clearing up the back for it?
Or, no, they're going to set it up out here in front. But they're supposed to be starting it sometime this summer.
So what did you think of the filming of the show? How was it? Did they find anything? Because it was very inconclusive on the TV show.
On which show, hon?
The UFO Witness that they just did it, and the guy that came out here just recently.
There's so many of them.
Oh, the one that the UFO Witness, the one on the Discovery Plus channel, the one he came out here. He actually went to the spot, and he was with you and your sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seemed like he got something, but they didn't really talk about it on the show too much.
Yeah. They were really hunting. We told them it's been 60-something years. You're not going to find much.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever it was there.
Whatever was there, the Army done got.
Unless there's some residual energy there in the woods, though, it might be just sitting there.
Like we told him, there's nothing there. And what was there, the Army done took.
Yeah.
We know that for a fact.
There's no reason why a reasonable farmer would be shooting up his own house. There's no reason for that.
Or to even be drawing attention to himself for it. What's the point? He didn't try to monetize it. He didn't do anything. He didn't want to be famous.
No.
He was trying to go on about his life. It
Right.
doesn't make sense for it to be a hoax. Why?
He regretted it the next day about just going up to the police station and saying it. Because everybody was making fun of it. And all he wanted was help.
Yeah.
And he regretted it terribly the rest of his life. Within days afterward, people from just everywhere were literally coming out here and going through my grandma, not even knocking, just going through her house, walking in her house.
What?
And picking up items that belonged to her and taking as souvenirs.
Oh my God.
Are you kidding me? That is rude.
And 2 days later, she was moving. She was leaving.
Yeah.
She couldn't do no more of it.
It could.
So she sold the farm within 2 weeks and left.
Wow. She just couldn't deal with it, huh?
She couldn't do it no more.
So they basically didn't get anything out of this experience at all.
Nothing. And so the farm got sold, and it got divided up.
And then so you guys inherited some of the property?
No, we ended up, I got 5 acres of it back.
And is the park part of that?
No, the park is Mr. Larry. It was actually this land, and he donated it back to us to make the park out of for Kelly.
Oh,
So
nice. Wow. And then you got 5 acres back, and then the houses over here are part of that land.
as you can see, we made a fire station right there for Kelly. This is what we do with the money from Kelly that we do every year. We take the money that we make, and we take and build back into the park. We just got through building the fire station for Kelly, which is right here. We built our stage for our entertainment. We made the flying saucer, and we made the playground. We bought all that brand new. We got a lot of stuff we're going to do yet, but that's what we do with our money that we create from the Kelly Festival. People ask us all the time what we do with that money. I've had people that come up to me and say, "What do y'all do with that money? Do y'all pocket?" No, we don't pocket. And then we also have to maintain the park. We put trees, we mulch, and we have to mow and all that. So we have to do the upkeep. And we got people that come out here, and some don't like to use the trash can. They like to throw the trash on the ground. We had to come out here and clean the trash up.
That's really amazing that you did that for the community, though. I didn't know that part.
Thank you for listening to the NVus Alien Podcast. For show notes, go to the website www.nvusalien.com. All of the reference materials and mentions in this episode are linked there. If you want more witchy, paranormal, and fringe content, please subscribe to my Substack. Just search Heather Ashera, that's Heather Ashera, or check the link in the show notes. And as always, see you on the flip side.